Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at the Active Controls ActiveStart soft starter with built-in surge protection. Now this one is going to be a hardwired option that's going to stay on your RV, and it's going to be a 30 amp option, but you can also get it in a few different configurations with a 50 amp with or without the surge protection, and those are the hardwired options. But there's also plug-in options, so if you don't want to permanently mount this up, you can get it to go on your plug and you're going to get the same protection. Going to different campsites means that you're going to be tying into shore power, and sometimes, especially during peak seasons, you have a lot of people that are running off of that same power, and when everyone's kicking their ACs on in the peak of summer, there is a massive power shortage at times. And that's generally where you start to see issues with the electronics on your RV. Is not necessarily the spikes of power up, but a low power, and it's going to cause strain and potentially damage everything in place. But also having power that goes up and down when you kick on that AC is a little bit hard on the entire system. So having a soft start as well as a surge protector in line means that every time you plug in, you have peace of mind knowing that you're going to be protected and you're not going to have to replace electronics throughout your RV no matter where you plug into. When it comes to protection, you have 3150 joule protection, which is a pretty good range to make sure everything's going to stay protected. Now, it can burn out a module on that, but that's easily replaceable as opposed to going through and troubleshooting all of your electronics and having to replace those. So it really just takes all the strain or potential strain from everything downstream. Having a soft start means that when your AC, refrigerator, or any pumps kick on, it's really going to be a lot quieter because that is that soft start. It's not going to be a hard push on the compressors to get started. And also going along with that, there's some other added benefits, and that's going to be not having to upgrade to a larger generator. A lot of times you can get away with a smaller generator or one that you already have without having to bump it up to get that extra wattage. I think these are a great option for really any RV. I'd wish they come standard with them because the chances of having clean power at every single campsite, especially in peak season, is just not feasible. And it does cause damage to RVs and it gets really expensive. So this is really just, getting like a surge protector for your computer. Sure, you can plug it into the wall and everything's fine, but if you do have a power shortage or lightning or anything like that and it fries your computer, you're kind of going to be spending money, and the same goes for your RV. So the hardwired version is really nice because once it's in place, you really don't have to mess with anything in. You just plug in your plug and it's good to go every single time. But if space starts to become an issue or you really just don't want to deal with the installation of it, even though it's minor, you can get the plug option that goes onto your plug. Either way, you do want to make sure you're getting the proper amperage according to your plug. So ours being 30 amp, we went with 30 amp. Now you don't need to get a plug-in on top of this. That's just going to be redundant. They do the same thing. So if you go with this hardwired version, you're going to be protected. So if you choose to go with the hardwired option, but maybe you don't want to do the install, you don't have the time, the place, or even the want to do it, you can reach out to our dealer locator to get this installed and get your RV protected. And if you have one installed, let us know how it works. Let us know your stories of the campsite. And having that Bluetooth app means that you're going to see exactly what's going on and you're going to see the difference from campsite to campsite. So share any info that you have. We love to see how neighbors are using it and why other neighbors may be interested in the same product. Now, this is going to be installed on a 2022 Winnebago View motorhome, but it's going to be very similar installation across the board. So even if you don't have a Winnebago, this will get you pretty close on getting it installed on your RV. The installation of our soft starter is actually pretty easy to do. You do want to make sure that you find a nice location and have enough slack for the wire to tap into the hardwired version. You're going to look for your automatic transfer switch. Generally, that's going to be by your shore power cord. There's going to be an input and an output. We're going to be putting it on the output side, and that's going to be in between this and our breaker. So that way it's going to be all protected. It's going to keep those surges from really making it any way further up our RV. And to get it all installed, you're just going to be splicing into our power cable from that output, and you'll take the cover off of your ActiveStart, and those wires are just going to go through the wire strains and attach to these lugs. So if you've done any kind of AC, this is pretty simple. It's just going to be spliced and tapped into here. Something I would recommend doing is on the cover, there's going to be a QR code, as well as your device key and also the key that goes with it that's going to be specific. That way you can use Bluetooth to monitor all of this. Now there is going to be a sticker with your device and key and the QR code, also including the instructions. But once this is mounted up, it might be hard to see. You can always refer to those instructions, but go ahead and get that app downloaded before getting it installed. So once you go to the output of your transfer switch, just follow that wire. Obviously make sure you're not plugged into power, and we're going to split this, but when you split it, make sure that you have enough room. It's just going to tie into this, and then we're going to be mounting it up. And this is our storage compartment for all of our cable, so I really want to make sure that this is out of the way and not impeding us putting our cable back in place. So what I'm going to do is take our wire and find a spot where this will mount up, and having it up here means that when I go to store my cable, I'll have all that space, but I want to make sure that I have enough slack to tie into our box, and it's going to be a safe place out of the way of everything. So seeing that I have plenty of extra slack here, I'm going to cut my wire right about here. So from the output side of the wire, we're going to be feeding this into the input side of our soft start, and that's just going to go through the wire strain, but we need to strip back our wire before putting them in the lugs, and these are labeled. So we have an L for load or lead, neutral is going to be the middle, and then our ground. So the colors are going to go coordinated with that. I'll strip these back and get these attached. Now cut back your sleeve just a little bit to gain access to be able to strip your wires. And when it comes to stripping them, you really don't need to go much more than, I'd say, 1/2 inch. And that way we can get that tightened down once they're slid in. But make sure that the insulation is enough to where that's not going to be on our contacts. So we'll get these stripped back. And then we'll feed this in, make sure again it's the input. And then I'm going to loosen up our lugs with just a Phillips head screwdriver and slide in our wires before tightening them down. Now getting these in place, they're a little bit tricky just because the wires are fairly stiff, so I just put a small bend on our ground. But if you cut them all at about the same length, that's going to be the best way to make sure that they feed in properly. Once you feed them in, just go ahead, snug those down. And then we'll put our wire strain in place. So make sure that the flat part is on the back part of the box. And this is going to make sure that it's not going to be pulling on those wires and make those connections loose. So we'll get these tightened down in place. All right. Once the wire strain's on, we're just going to be doing the exact same thing with the other side of the wire, feeding it into the output side. So we'll go ahead and we'll get that installed. Now with both sides attached, we can get our cover put back on, and that's going to allow us to get it all mounted up. So it's just 2 small Phillips head screws that you took off. So we'll get that put back up, and then it does include some self-tapping screws, and we'll get it mounted up after that. Now this is what it looks like when it's mounted up, and from here we just need to plug it into shore power, and from there get your app going and your Bluetooth all ready to go with that key ready. And then once you're connected, you'll be able to check and see what it's all doing and all the outputs. Connecting, pretty easy. Just go to connections, have your Bluetooth ready, and when you have that extra sticker, you might put it in a spot that you can access it again if you have to connect again. But here we have a live feed. We have current 9 amps, voltage 117, frequency, power, resettable energy, total energy, temperature, and new load detect count. So pretty easy. Really you don't have to be an expert when it comes to wiring. It's simple to do. The hardest part is really just getting those wires to feed in a spot that's mounted up clean. But from here, you can always take a look at exactly what's going on. And having that new load count is really going to let you know if you are having any issues. And really, it's going to prevent anything from going upstream and causing damage to your camper. Now, once you get your Bluetooth app working and you check it out, everything's working fine, you've officially installed your new soft start and surge protection. And that was a look at the Active Controls ActiveStart Hardwired soft starter and surge protection for 30 amp.